Closing costs. Who pays them? What's included in them? That is the focus of our story today. This is Rebecca Gaetz-Bishop over here at Keller Williams Premier Realty, and we're going to get down and dirty about what and who pays closing costs when you sell your house. So let's start with buyers. Closing costs for buyers generally cost anywhere from 2 to 5% of the loan amount. And here's what's included in that. The first thing that we have is the loan origination cost, and that's basically what the lender is charging to process the loan. And this is disclosed to you at the time that you make loan app. We also have the appraisal fee. Generally speaking, the lender is going to require that you have an appraisal if you're getting a loan on the house. And the independent appraiser will put his fees in there with your closing costs. In Illinois, or I should say right around here in the Peoria area, they range anywhere from $500 to $700 for your appraisal. We also have your title insurance and your homeowner's insurance fee. And then we have the recording fee, which is whatever the government charges to have the property transfer. With all of that, like I said, it's anywhere between 2 and 5% of the loan amount. Now, for a seller, the closing costs are generally cheaper than what they are for a buyer. They range anywhere from 1 to 3% of selling price. Here's what's included on the seller's closing costs. First one is your real estate agent's commission. Now, this is discussed at the time that you take your listing and sign the paperwork. Your real estate agent will discuss this with you. Sellers generally are paying for the listing agent, and then it is a full discussion as to what they are offering a buyer's agent. So that percentage can vary from seller to seller, depending on what has been determined between you and your listing agent. There are also the title transfer fees, again, to transfer the title over. Property taxes are a big one that many sellers in our area kind of forget about. Here in Illinois, we pay in arrears. We pay our taxes in arrears. So it is October 2024 right now. We just got done paying for our real estate taxes for 2023, okay? Now, if we were closing on a house, let's say today, the seller is going to give credit to the buyer for January through today on the closing statement for the real estate taxes. So January through today, the buyer's going to get a credit because when the taxes come due next year, they're actually going to be for this year. And the buyer didn't live in the property from January until today. So seller gives the buyer a credit for that time period that they lived in the house before the sale. A little confusing. I'm not sure if all states pay in arrears, but we do, so it is what it is. Also including closing costs could be any escrow fees, if you gave the buyer any credits, if perhaps there were some repairs that needed to be done and they weren't done, and so we escrowed the cost of those repairs. That will all be included in your closing costs. And if you live in a subdivision with an HOA, that credit will also be put into your closing costs. So while the buyer pays the majority of the closing costs, it is not uncommon for a buyer to ask the seller in the contract to pay a portion of the buyer's closing costs. This is all part of the negotiations once you get an offer on your house. So you could agree to pay perhaps $2,500 of the buyer's closing costs. It's very common. And again, you'll work with your real estate agent and negotiate whatever terms are going to meet your needs. So the bottom line is closing costs can vary from house to house, situation to situation, what's all in there. It can vary immensely. So my recommendation is when you are thinking about buying, thinking about selling, found that particular house, have your agent do you a general breakdown of figures for you. Again, it's probably going to be a close approximate, won't be down to the penny, but it can be an approximate so that you will have a better idea of exactly what your closing costs are going to be. If you have any questions in regards to this, as always, feel free to give me a call or shoot me a text. Once again, this is Rebecca Gaetz-Bishop over at Keller Williams Premier Realty, your realtor of choice.